Hey friends, welcome to my daily live stream over here on the AID YouTube channel. Coming in a little bit late today, but it's been one of those wild days where you just get those little pockets of time that opens up. It's almost 8 o'clock out here on the West Coast. Already done a couple of different interviews and really stacked in a lot of stuff today. So one of the things I wanted to do on today's show, as maybe you've seen once this gets posted properly and you've seen the cover art, episode 900. Yay! Not so yay. Episode 900 was just as challenging as the other 899 before. At some point, I gave up on thinking this is all going to just get easy. It'll all just start to flow. Creating a daily podcast Monday through Friday, when it's one person doing it, it's always challenging. And I had mentioned in a couple of areas that the 900th guest was going to be none other than Benny Gold. Now, I was super excited that Benny was going to try to fit me into a schedule. As you know, Benny's had a wild 2019 so far. Hopefully for him, it slows down. And I was just so excited when he agreed to come on for his third time, in particular with everything that's been going on in his world. However, I made the announcement in a couple of different spots. Benny Gold would be the 900th episode. So I always like to make a big deal out of the big numbers because it's a huge success, right? Like making 900 of anything is a complete success, much less making 900 of this podcast that I love so dearly. So I'd mentioned in a couple of spaces, I'd teased because, I want people to show up, that Benny Gold would be the 900th guest. But it didn't turn out that way. And in fact, our recording date was supposed to be yesterday, which was Super Bowl Sunday. And if it didn't go right, that meant I had nothing for Monday. It meant that I had nothing at all. And as I said, Benny's been nice enough to be on the show a couple of times now. With the first time he came on, we did it over the internet. And it was a pretty good interview. But I think that was the time when Benny sort of got the real flow of AID and how it all works. But this, I'm so bad at this interview here. I can slow it down. There it is. That interview right there, that's the one you want to check out. And if you go to AID.network, you can just type in Benny Gold and both of his episodes will pop out. But each time I got to sit across from him, it was a real pleasure. And the second one, we really bonded. I went to his new store in San Francisco. I sat across from him. It had just literally opened up. An avalanche of boxes fell on top of me. I can proudly say I was the very first interview or meeting that he took in his new office because it was literally in shambles. And we just really bonded and had a great time. And it was early February 2017. And I think that was kind of a moment when people needed to hear a conversation between the two of us. And Benny and I were born in the same year, 74. We have sort of a lot in common, from punk rock, skateboarding, and overall trying to keep a PMA lifestyle. Although I would say that he's way more mellow, way more positive. I'm a little bit too aggro at times, but Benny really is one of the most loving folks that I ever met. So this all leads into an interesting story about, well, if it goes wrong on Sunday, how do I have an episode for Monday? And I just didn't want to produce something and have it sitting there because that's just not the way my life works. I don't have the time to be that prepared. Like, it literally goes down to the wire. So I thought tonight's live would be really interesting to show a lot of behind the scenes of the podcast that maybe you've heard once or twice and that I've now produced over 900 times. So I already had another interview that I was sitting on that I thought, you know what, if I had to put something up for 900, because I just don't want to treat it like it's a normal day. I already have a comment below ready to go out this week where we talk about pop culture with Connie, but I wanted to really, as I always do, capture a big win on the big number. That led me to the interview that I have with Circle of Trust member Anderson Blue. Anderson Blue is somebody that came on the show way back when we did a segment called Tough Love, where I would sit across from one of the members of the Circle of Trust, the people that pay for the podcast. They would explain to me their career, what they were trying to achieve. I would then give them the best advice I could, the tough love. And I would afterwards, because I know that I don't know all the answers, I'm just always guessing, using my practical life advice, what would be the best thing to do. I would then take that recording and I would pass it over to a friend. The friend, who's more trained in this person's field than I am, would then listen to it, critique my advice, offering their own advice. And so therefore, the Circle of Trust member would walk away with not only advice from one person, but two people sort of guiding them in their young career. So with my Anderson, who came on, who I nicknamed Anderson Blue, and he stuck with it, good call. He came on the show, told me that he wanted to do a clothing line. I gave him the advice I could, what I know about clothing line and branding, and then I passed him over to Ben Newhouse of Snake Oil Provisions, who knows a ton about retail, worked with all the successful premier men's clothing lines and now female clothing lines here based out of Los Angeles. And Ben was able to really give him the best advice, I think, for someone trying to do what he was doing. So this episode is it's a good one, and what I wanted to do is take you into the process and show you that, hey, sometimes at 8 o'clock at night, because I've been out doing interviews all day, I'm just now getting to tomorrow's episode. As always with my lives, if you comment, I'm giving out the key to life pin that I made, which the key to life is when you meet people, it enriches your life. The more your life is enriched, the more friends you have, the more people that can hook you up, the happier you are. Really, the key to life is all about the people that you would meet. And after 900 episodes, I'm incredibly wealthy when it comes to people in my network, both knowing people like Benny Gold and Anderson. So if you comment below after this is posted, somebody at random, I'll pull that pin out. If you're a Circle of Trust member and you already have that pin, I'll make sure to swap you out with one maybe you don't have from the collection, like the gold bucket of yellow. So this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to show you how I record the monos every day, the monologues that I do, and how that process works. So I'm now going to take you in to my notes, my recording, and for the first time ever, I'm going to record the intro, and I'm going to tell you the story, and you can even see my notes, because people often have asked me, how much of this is written out? How much is it that you make up on a fly? And I don't want to ever read, but what I do is I just basically make almost like song titles, and I just follow it all the way down. And when I follow it down, it gets me to where I'm at. I can see that some of you over there live chatting. Unfortunately, I can't do this and that. And hopefully, my equipment will let me record the monologue and output to YouTube at the same time. If not, I'm just going to have to abandon ship. But here we go. I'm now going to record the monologue for tomorrow's show and tell you the complete story on why you're getting Anderson Blue tomorrow and not Benny Gold, and sort of why I think that it's a real win and a good thing for episode 900. I'm now going to take a drink of water, hit record, and we'll do the monologue together. And you can see how the slow brain works. Here we go. It's recording. We are set. All right, episode 900. Good morning and good design. Welcome to Adventures in Design. It's episode 900. That's right, 900. Episode 900 coming to you with who? Anderson Blue on the show today, and a really great story of how the Circle of Trust has grown and grown and grown. I'm your host, Mark Brickey. What do you say we get started with episode 900 of Adventures in Design? Friends, thank you so much for listening. I hope that you are with me for so long that 900 feels just like another episode rolling off the pile. I hope you're sitting back right now going, oh, I remember when I started doing this with him back in episode 255, when I started doing this, when I started doing that. I remember episode 3. I hope that you've been with me for a while, but if you're new, welcome. You're always welcome here. We're all friends. Originally, my guest for today was going to be Benny Gold. I was very excited to have Benny on the show for episode 900. What a great way to mark this accomplishment of 900 episodes than with somebody that has such a great story to tell right now. In case you don't know, Benny Gold recently shut down his brand that he started back in 2004. For 15 years, he told the story, the mantra of Benny Gold. One of the nicest guys I've ever met, one of the most talented designers that I've ever met, and a guy that has an incredible eye for design and talent. Just always knows the right brands, the right people to surround himself with. And that's how he built something that meant to... And that's how he built something... All right, got to stop that. How he built something You get tongue-tied quite often. Something, right, back in himself with. And that's how he built something that not only he could be proud of, but a community of designers and young people could take in as an identity. The mantra, stay gold, it meant so much more than a tagline on a shirt or a hat or the back of the jacket that I have. It meant an idea of always, always be true to yourself, always stay gold. So I was so excited when he said that he'd be willing to come on the show, because after all, he had to make one of the hardest decisions. He had to make one of the... I always get tongue-tied. Come back in. Be willing to come on the show, because after all, he had to make one of the hardest decisions. Starting is easy, but sometimes knowing when to stop, that's the hard part. Because a brand becomes so much a part of you. It literally becomes the biggest part of your ego and your identity. Who will I be if I'm not Benny Gold from Benny Gold? After all, his brand was even his namesake. And as you go through life and people treat you that way, what will it be like if you're not that guy? I know I've had to let go of some things a couple of times in my life, letting go of my band, letting go of my brand. It's a very interesting thing where if you don't have something to fall back on, you start to wonder, how will people judge me? How will people treat me? What will they think of me? Will I be looked at as a failure, or will I always be looked at the guy that did that one thing when, but now, who cares? I wanted to hear this story from him. And I even built to this story when I had Greg Kerr on the show with PenGameStrong.com, telling a very similar story of how Greg was able to let go of one successful brand because he had found something else that he loved more. Would Benny give us the same insight, or would it be a little bit different? And Thursday's episode even reinforces that again, talking to a woman that sold a very successful business, but ultimately decided that she wanted her daughters to see that she worked and wasn't just a housewife. Even though she's incredibly successful from selling her business, she decided to get back into the workforce when she financially doesn't really need to, because she wanted to be a role model and because she missed working. So I laid down the groundwork, but I'm always relying on other people. And it comes down to this: how hard do I push my friends? How hard do I push the generosity of all the people that decide to come on the show and to give me some of their time, some of their attention, and most importantly, their stories? I have to make a decision of where do I stop being me, a guy who really cares about everybody who comes on, cares about the creatives on the other line, and I don't want to ever interfere with somebody else's life. I love when people are excited to come on and share their stories, but I don't want to be invasive, and I certainly don't want to take advantage of others. So where do I stop being me, and where do I start being that guy, that grimy, slimy guy that all he ever does is take and annoys people? What can you do for me? What can you do for me? Basically, how can I be that guy that you kind of have to be successful in the entertainment business? If you don't know this, most of the time people have managers and producers that are that guy professionally so that the host can be cool, the fun guy you want to be around and say, oh, I'm sorry, Troy pushed you so hard. But I'm both of those guys. So I have to figure out where that line is. And I certainly know that a guy that it's nice as Benny Gold, I could just pushed on him. I could have pushed on him. And I could have said, come on, man, I need you for my 900th episode. And even though he just made one of the biggest moves in his life and probably wanted to spend a little bit of clearing his head time with his wife and his daughter and his son, he probably would have did it out of obligation. And that's when I have to know it's time to walk away. Even though we were committed, even though we kind of had a day figured out, I wasn't going to push too hard. We got to the moment a couple of times where we decided the day, and then it was like, how much time do you need? And we never really put the hour in the calendar. And I thought that he would write me back and say 10 a.m. But I certainly wasn't going to write him Sunday morning and say, what time? What time are we going to do this, Benny? I don't run the business that way. To me, it's always about respect over success. Being respectful, treating others the way I want to be treated, and respecting others has always been more important to me than being successful and getting the biggest name and the biggest story out there that I could, because that's just not how I run the show. And maybe that's going to always bother how successful it can be and how big the show can grow, because I don't take those moments and pounce in there and try to get what I need because I'm worried about somebody else. But I would also say that that's what makes me a good interviewer, because I always really care about the person that's sitting across from me. And I want to help them tell their best version of their story. So it wasn't right for Benny and I to get together for episode 900, but I guarantee you when the time is right, we'll sit down and talk, and it'll be just as inspirational, just as positive and life-changing as the last times that we sat together. But this led me to episode 900 of Adventures in Design. What story would I tell? Well, this isn't a backup plan. This isn't a rain date. This isn't a second best option. This is an equally good option. Anderson Blue of Blue Dreams is someone that I met through the show. And what better way to share 900 episodes, 7 years of Adventures in Design, than showing how this community has actually risen up and built itself. That the people that started listening to this show because maybe they were a little bit lost or a little bit lonely have now become friends, not only with me and my guests, but with each other. And the community has built to where people, when they first started listening years and years ago, have now moved on, migrated to bigger and better spots in their career. So the people that used to just listen to try to figure out some tips and tricks are now the people that can share their very own tips and tricks. The idea that I've always dreamed that the audience would grow up with me and not grow away from me. That's always been the goal here. So big names, yeah, they're fucking great. Big names always move the needle, get more downloads, get more people talking about the show. But big stories are better because big stories stay with you. Big stories influence you. Because big stories stay with you. I was on a roll. Big stories are better because big stories stay with you. Big stories influence you and they inspire you to maybe do something different with your own career and where you can go. So over the last 899 episodes, I've always chosen the people that I thought could give me the best stories. And I've always brought on friends that I felt like I had a natural bond with, or that would come together in a way that you could learn more and more about them and actually care about that person and think of them as a friend. Maybe it's not always been the brightest decision to put Sean Mort on your show every Monday and Billy every Wednesday, and it was a pretty bright decision to put Hammer Time on every Friday, but bringing back these old friends time and time again, the bond between all of us, audience, people on air, it's only grown stronger, and it's only made what I'm so proud of an actual community. So it's not me every day and the person I think that'll get us the most downloads. It's not that way quite often at all. It's hopefully always me, and I think the best story or the best good time that I can share with you, and the best way to brighten up your day and give you a little something to listen to if you're listening live that day, or 2 or 3 years down the road as you're digging through the archives. I'm in it for the long haul. Always have been, always will be. Not looking to get the biggest and best guests and build the numbers and beat the algorithm. I'm in it for the long haul. And that's why I've been here for 900 episodes, and I'll be here at episode 1800 as well. So what do you say we get started? I'm not going to tell you too much about Anderson's story. I'll just tell you that the biggest opportunity of his life came, and I couldn't be any more proud of somebody that was once on Tough Love, somebody that I've become friends with, somebody that I got to hang out with at a handful of different creative conferences, and somebody who I've been able to sit across from and say, I recognize this talent in you. If I were you, I would do X, Y, and Z. And even when he doubted me, he did X, Y, and Z. And he put the faith in of older cats that he'd heard on the show, and he listened to the advice he got, and it led him somewhere. It led him somewhere that's pretty successful, and I'm so excited. I always want to surprise people, but if you've seen the cover, you know Anderson's got his own sneaker, 2 pair of sneakers that are dropping. It's a ASICS exclusive at Foot Locker, designed around G.I. Joe. One shoe for Stormtrooper, or at Foot Locker, designed around G.I. Locker, designed around G.I. Joe as the property. One shoe inspired by Storm Shadow, the other one by Snake Eyes. 2 of the best from one of my favorites, G.I. Joe. It's Anderson Blue on episode 900, and I couldn't be any more excited to have him here with me. And here's the thing. Today, No paid wall, no circle of trust. The best advertisement I could ever give anyone is to listen to the entire conversation, because it's more than a podcast. It's a community. It's a community that builds on itself. It's a community that's built on friendship, and it actually has been changing people's lives as much as it's changed mine. So if this is your first episode, your 100th, your 700th, or your 900th episode that you spent with me, I'm so excited that you come back and you hang out with me and all of my friends, and you give me the opportunity to co-create with you, to live beside you, and to be a part of your world. I know that I may have sometimes come off as I'm complaining that it's a lot of work, and it is a lot of work, but it's always worth it. And I'm extremely privileged to have this job and to have each and every one of you. All right. Old man Brickey's getting choked up. What do you say we get into episode 900? Adventures in Design. Long live AI fucking D. All right, there you go. A monologue. How many takes do we have there? 1, 2, 3, 4. Not so bad. Not so bad. All right, I saw that some of you guys were talking over there. Obviously, I can't read questions and do a monologue at once, but I can. I saw somebody say, "Why don't I use one of the Adobe products?" And I'll tell you why I don't use Audition. I need Audacity, man. Audacity is down and dirty. It's free, it's fast, and it's not burdened by all these different tips and tricks. And the thing is, I've got to produce one of these shows every single day. I need software that doesn't get in my way, that just lets me do what I need to do. So now what I'm doing is I go over and I compress it, which brings all my levels up to one level, so that the audio doesn't dip down as I put inflection in my voice. And now I go over and do what's called a noise gate, which takes out all the heavy breathing so you don't get too turned on and you can focus on your work. Yes, I'm sorry, Jimmy Bryant. I'm so sorry that I'm giving out your COT for free. So there we go. It is all put together. What's up, Tony Tran? What was so different? Did I ruin the surprise, or did you not know that it took me more than one take? Hopefully I'm not gonna expose myself as the Wizard of Oz. Oh, okay, cool. Podcast tips. So anyways, there's the monologue. I wanted to get it in 10 minutes. I ended up at 11:48. What are you gonna do? And for all my Circle of Trust members, I always appreciate when you guys give me the freedom to give out full shows. It's really important that I get more people to sign up. Hopefully one day I won't have to do it all by myself, but I think sometimes showing people what the show does and how it affects people and how as it's gone on, it's become so many bigger and better things. All right, I've been live now for 23 minutes. I got to go. That's way too long to burden people with. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Please come back tomorrow and listen to episode 900 of Adventures in Design. And I'm going to go get it done right now so that I can go to bed eventually tonight. So thanks a lot for hanging out with me, COT members. Remember, if you comment below, I will pick one random person tomorrow that I'll give the Key to Life pen out to. And if you're a COT member and you win it, I'll give you a different pen if you want one. All right, thank you so much, everybody. I got to go do more work. Thanks for watching the monologue. Hopefully this was interesting to see how it's done after 900, and to see how my notes work, how you can see there's a lot of loosey-goosey in there. It's just kind of an outline to keep me going. All right, I'm mumbling. I got to roll. I'm just going to stop.